What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here in the channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. All right, guys, I know that I probably got you with a little bit of a clickbaity title here, but I do want to back it up. And the topic for the video is why I think the sustainability, or we should say that the flywheel is not necessarily sustainable. And when I say that, I don't mean that the flywheel won't be effective. In fact, it's one of the things that keeps me excited about the project overall. But when we talk about sustainability, that implies that it's gonna go on forever, right? We will always be above or at or above peg for an extended period of time. Now, we can hit that level maybe if we get a massive rush in, if there's a bull run, but I do think that the flywheel should be working regardless of whether or not there are, a bunch of people and new money coming in. Because the truth is that if new money's coming in, it doesn't even matter if the tokenomics are in a good place. Like, people will speculate and buy, and as I always call it, dumb money will come in and just buy the token just because. It'll have nothing to do with the flywheel. It'll have nothing to do with the tokenomics. It'll have everything to do with the fact that people want to just buy into the project. So when it comes to the flywheel then, when I talk about sustainability, what I'm saying is that it's not necessarily going to be this thing where we stay at or above peg for an extended period or indefinitely. I think what we've seen in the past is very clear periods of a pump in the DEC price and then a subsequent dump in the DEC price. And these are driven by real things, right? There's demand that comes in, whether it's for the promo cards, whether it was for the, what's that called? For the Chaos Legion sale at the end of the year. We saw it again for Land 1.0. We saw it actually again a little bit for the Great Burning, even though we didn't get close to peg. But we've seen this massive pump. And when I say massive, when it goes from 0.7 to 0.8, that's actually significant from a percentage standpoint, right? For a stable coin. I mean, it doesn't even matter what it is. It's significant from a percentage standpoint. So what I'm talking about for the future is, until and unless we see significant ongoing demand that is coming in for stuff that we can just constantly be spending on, I don't necessarily think that the flywheel is going to be sustainable in the sense that it's just going to be going on and we'll just be burning SPS every day. I've talked about this previously in other videos. I just haven't articulated it like this, but I do think that everything that comes in the future, or at least in the near future, we'll call it, right? Land 1.5, tower defense to a certain extent, if there's like a mini promo set, or even Rebellion, when all of those come in, or even like Rift Watchers for DEC, all of these things will be small, medium, or maybe even large catalysts to pump the price of DEC. And once we get to a point where there's not enough DEC, of course we trigger the flywheel. And when we trigger the flywheel, we will see certain things happen, including the burning of SPS for DEC. But once that demand is done, then I don't think, once that demand is done, once we go through like Land 1.5, for example, it's like you need 50,000 DEC to stake on each plot. Well, once we hit some kind of equilibrium, the demand won't be there, meaning that people won't necessarily be buying and burning SPS for DEC. There might be excess DEC in the ecosystem that people were using. Maybe somebody ends up leaving. Maybe somebody ends up selling off. Whatever the case is, now all of a sudden there's sell pressure on the DEC, and therefore we don't maintain peg. Now, my hope is that even if we're not sustainable, once we hit some kind of point, or some kind of point with the DEC circulating supply. And my hope is that once we get down into like the under 4 billion range, maybe even like 3.5 billion range, once we get there, we shouldn't necessarily see DEC drop off so much. Now, it absolutely can. I don't want to make any predictions here that it won't, because if there's a significant sell-off in the market overall, we're going to see that impact Bitcoin, Hive, and of course, DEC SPS. That's all just going to end up coming down. But if there's not enough there, when the demand does come in, and it could be as small as a new player entering the game, or somebody wanting to max out one of their lands and go from 30,000 DEC staked to 50,000 DEC staked, there could be small demand events that will slowly tick up DEC over time. But I really think the flywheel is only going to get triggered when we have these massive DEC demand drivers. So as I said earlier, the ones that really stick out to me could be, or would be, Land 1.5, and then a mini set or Rebellion whenever that does happen. Those to me represent times in which I could see for sure a massive demand coming in for DEC that pushes us over the flywheel. Again, it's a prediction. Yes, I know. And I guess it's technically a price prediction because we're trying to get back to peg. But since we saw us almost get to peg with the launch of Land 1.0, I really think that Land 1.5 can get us to a point where we actually hit peg and go over peg, and then something like Rebellion could come in as well. Now, there's a couple of unknowns, right? We have Rift Watchers for DEC, and we have Tower Defense, and I don't know what the burn mechanisms or the benefits for something like Tower Defense will be, so that's a big, that's a big question mark, but I'm hoping that it'll be significant, right? So that's why I'm including it in the list. Rift Watchers, on the other hand, we still have 2 million packs, or almost 2 million packs, which if the proposal passes, Rift Watchers for DEC proposal, that'll be 10 billion DEC, of which you see we don't even have half of that. So if there is a demand to get Rift Watcher packs at a discount, and right now, if you're buying DEC, that will be trading at a 17% discount, then we start to lock up more and more and more DEC. So if that's the case, those could be not major, but definitely smaller catalysts, and it could increase the ongoing demand for DEC. Whereas, right now, one of the reasons that I'm such a big proponent of the proposal is nobody wants to part with their SPS. They would have to bring in outside money to then buy SPS and then immediately trade that in for packs. Whereas, if you're collecting DEC and you're getting it from rentals, you're getting it from leaderboard or whatever the case is, DEC, with it being below peg right now, there's an incentive to go in and actually buy. You're not waiting for DEC to go up in value. In fact, you are taking advantage of the fact that DEC is under par value to go in and get an underpriced asset. And again, I'm not talking about the value of Rift Watchers. I'm just saying the pack sells for $5 on the from the store, and you could get it for 17% off. Now, granted, you could probably get a decent price on the secondary market, but you don't get the airdrop benefits. So, ultimately looking ahead over the next, we'll call it 6, maybe even 9 months, right, to the end of this year to like Q1 of next year is when I'm seeing Rebellion, Land 1.5, Tower Defense, and Rift Watchers for DEC. Those are the 4 things. Now, maybe I'm missing something in there, and I'm not saying that's all that the team's going to release. Obviously, and hopefully, they'll have a lot more, including maybe skins, cosmetics, other types of events, other types of, land. There might be a Land 1.75, right, where we get something with like the Secret of Praetoria. Who knows? But okay, that's total speculation. I have no idea. I'm just saying that they might try to do something in between Land 1.5 and 2.0. But my point is that those are the 4 things that I'm seeing that could be significant demand drivers, 2 of them being major and the other 2 being either question marks or smaller, and not necessarily ongoing, but ongoing is what we would need in order to have that kind of sustainability for the DEC SPS flywheel. So I'm excited for this because I think once the flywheel does get triggered, we could see some awesome movement in the value of SPS if people stop selling it and actually start buying it because they need to burn it. But, I think it's going to take a couple of these iterations for us to really take off. Again, I hope I'm wrong. I hope there's a macro bull that also coincides with whenever we hit the first flywheel, which I'm guessing or predicting would be around whenever Land 1.5 comes out. But, we don't really control what's happening with the broader market. So at the end of the day, I think that we're going to get some nice pumps, probably some dumps, hopefully not major dumps like we've seen, especially if the macro is moving in a more positive way. But ultimately, that's kind of how I see the playing out, or the perspective that I have for DEC over the next like 6 to 9 months, maybe even ongoing, right? Because until and unless we have something where it's just like, I want to be spending DEC all the time, or we have the players coming in saying, I want to be spending DEC all the time, I'm burning it for my guilds, I'm burning it for more games, for more energy, and we have the player base that can sustain that, only then do I think that we'll have like the sustainable version of the flywheel. Right now, with the player base that we have that's still around, and with the upcoming events, Land 1.5, Rebellion, Mini Set, Rift Watcher for DEC, I can see, again, pump and dump has probably a very negative connotation to it, but I can see that pattern continuing to play out because we've seen it already, but we'll see that pattern continue to play out over the next couple of major releases. But I would love to get your thoughts on this. Let me know what you think in the comments below. We can continue the conversation there. Otherwise, I'll catch you all in the next video and see you around the game. Take care.